Okay. We had our fun yesterday. We laughed at all the libs, maybe even egged them on a little bit. But look, we're Americans. I'm actually worried about a lot of these people's mental, a little bit, not a lot. But let's have a bit more of a conversation today on how things are actually going to go for the next 12 years. I know that the extra 8 years there melts them down anyway. But don't get confused. I'm not conceding a single inch to these people. Their outlandish policies, their ideas, they're all terrible. I'm certainly not going to listen to a word they say, and I don't trust them at all. But I'm willing to not spike the football in their face for now. But like I said, I'm actually worried about their mental health.
That's not what Democrats do. We constantly try to parse out different ways of speaking to different cohorts because our focus groups or our polling shows that so-and-so appeals to such and such. That's not how normal people think. It's not common sense. And we need to start being the party of common sense again. Joe Biden is not responsible for that. Neither is Kamala Harris. It is a problem that Democrats have had for years.
Yeah, no common sense. So let's stop with the freakouts and bring a little of it back. It's so manufactured by them. The only reason these people are doing this is because they've been raised in a society that just traffics in grievances. And this attention-getting thing that mostly the younger generations did, this is the product of a generation that's gotten participation trophies and have never been hit in the face with a dodgeball. Here's some tough love that you should probably have gotten years ago, all you folks that are crying out there. Yelling, not going to get you anything. You're not going to undo this election. You're not getting your way. I just don't care. And here's the reality of the next 12 years. It's time to grow up. If you want to be a functioning member of society, grow up. Understanding that you don't have the right to not be offended. Sometimes you don't get what you want. People are going to say things you don't like, and you can't shut them up by stomping your feet. Also, people are not as offended as they claim to be. Case in point, the legacy media, massive. They made this huge deal about this stupid joke about Puerto Rico at the Trump rally at MSG. And like a few days later, a Republican won the governorship in Puerto Rico for like the first time in a long time. The whole exchange. Hey, we've been hearing about this for the last 4 years. That's over. When some lib says, oh, I want to do X and you have to support me and celebrate me or whatever, otherwise you're a bigot. No, that dog don't hunt anymore. You want to take puberty blockers or sew something on your body? Fine by me. I don't care, but don't talk to my kids about it. And I have the right to judge you for it because I think it's weird. You take your pronouns out of your bio. No one cares. The job market is now going to be based on hiring on the merits of your skills, not your diversity. Because despite what you were taught in public school run by Randy Weingarten, diversity is not our greatest strength. Talent, ambition, and ability are. We now live back in the real world, thank God, where there are actually consequences for your actions now. Now, if you're screaming about being misgendered or taking a mental health day and putting it up on TikTok, consider how that will be viewed about your character by an employer. Take a good look in the mirror. Look, if you have purple hair and face tattoos, don't complain that it's Trump's fault you can't get a job. It's yours. The next 3 months are like that scene out of Step Brothers. Remember, they're getting kicked out of their parents' house and all of a sudden they have to like grow up spontaneously. This is that moment. And just like the movie, everyone's going to be better off for it. The other thing is everything is going to be fine. In fact, your life is probably going to get a lot better, just like it was 4 years ago. Here's a list of things that are true and not true. Trump is not Hitler. He was already president for 4 years and it was fine. Actually, it was better. No one went to jail for being gay. In fact, he appointed the first gay cabinet position ever, Rick Grinnell. Black people didn't become slaves, and despite what Jennifer Garner or Joy Behar said, women did and still do have equal rights to men. Honestly, Trump is like closer to a Clintonian Democrat, which I know right now is considered right-wing, but if you need proof, roll it.
With the smallest federal workforce in 40 years, we turned record deficits into record surpluses and doubled our investment in education. All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers.
Oh, man, that sounds awful Trumpian to me, huh? Look, the Democrats' 1990 platform is basically identical to Trump right now. I mean, Clinton was a pro-2A guy from Arkansas. Trump's policy platform is actually kind of moderate. It's pretty rational if you consider the political spectrums. Look, if you've listened to Rachel Maddow for the last 8 years, I mean, she's not rational. And if you've been able to tolerate her for that long, you're probably not rational either.
Have you taken your deep breaths? Have you, in fact, hydrated? Have you had any sleep? I know you didn't. We didn't either. We now are just another one in the list of countries that has decided to, hey, what the heck? Let's try the strongman thing. Let's let democracy go. Let's put in an all-powerful guy instead, see how it goes.
You guys installed your presidential candidate that didn't get a single vote. Don't talk to me about democracy. Just about everything the legacy media says is a lie. This is why moderate Democrats have been thrown out of the ivory tower for saying true things. That's why reasonable people like Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, and even Elon Musk voted for Obama twice, okay? They crossed over because of people like Rachel Maddow. Folks, if you're freaking out right now, stop, break out of that mental prison, and come on back down to earth. Abortion is a states' rights issue. Trump has been very clear about this, that there will be no federal abortion ban. The Supreme Court said the federal government can't do it anyway. That's governed by the states now. Just like gun laws are, much to my disagreement. I think all gun laws are an infringement of the Second Amendment, and we should end the Fed. But freedom of speech is safer now than ever. You may not be red-pilled enough to see this, libs, but the left absolutely believes in super hardcore censorship. The good guys have never been the ones censoring it. Misinformation, all that stuff. They're all focus group tested terms by the left to shut up conservatives. That's all they do. The answer to speech you don't agree with is not silence, it's more speech. In civil debate, I realize most Democrats aren't capable of that type of intellect, but not screaming about your vegan plate of yard debris that fermented this morning. That's not a conversation. Let's talk about actual conversations on the merits of issues and true information. And while we're on BS and lies, you're going to have to get over this Russian disinformation stuff. That didn't happen. You cannot prove that it did. In fact, the one guy investigating Trump was the one who actually got arrested for Russian collusion. And the Hillary Clinton campaign was the only campaign in 2016 that actually hired a Russian lawyer to go after Trump named Natasha Vevanetskaya. Yes, we are going to deport a ton of people, okay? Probably be really hard for some folks, but guess what? We are a country of laws, and those laws don't bend for your feelings, which is the premise of what I'm telling you right now. It's their fault for breaking those laws in the first place. Gotta go. They can come back legally. They just can't take over a handful of apartment complexes in Colorado. You're welcome for that. Lastly, you need to understand that Kamala was the worst candidate ever. She was an empty vessel, which was a feature, not a bug for the deep state. But she literally made no sense when she spoke because she wasn't I'll be nice, not exactly a valedictorian. She's accomplished nothing. Being elected to office is not an accomplishment. Achievement in office is, but she never passed a single bill when she was in the Senate. No one is against a woman president, folks, just not that woman. The first woman president must be capable of extemporaneous speech that is coherent, for world leaders and stuff. These people should be less stressed about making history and more concerned about the fact that she was a terrible option. Look, it's all going to be fine. We have Elon, who's likely going to be running the majority of government, or at least what's left of it. This guy's catching rockets from outer space with chopsticks. He's a pretty smart guy. So we can all just calm down just a little bit.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.